Okay, so Marcellus Wiley is someone whom I've covered quite extensively on this channel. That said, a report came out on the New York Post which alleged that the former NFL player and ESPN FS1 analyst rapped a fellow student while they attended Columbia University in 1994. Okay, so first off, I'm going to give you the main points from the article and what's alleged, and then Marcellus's response to these accusations. So the article says that the alleged victim filed a lawsuit in the New York Supreme Court accusing Wiley of attacking her in the fall of 1994 when he was a sophomore and star running back for the Columbia Alliance. These two actually were friends, but nothing more, as she already had a boyfriend. Anyways, the report goes on to say that Marcellus forced himself into the victim's dorm room wanting to hang out, and that the young lady had rejected his advances but to no avail, as she lost her virginity. This alleged traumatic experience caused great emotional distress that would later drive the victim to contemplate suicide. According to her, she made it clear to the 250-pound running back that she was a virgin and did not have any sexual interest in him. The victim said she made numerous attempts to flee, but was physically and verbally threatened to get back in bed as he allegedly rapped her numerous times. And after the incident, the article states that she confided in a friend and reported the crime to a series of administrators, but to her, it appeared that the school officials were displaying fondness to Wiley because he was a budding football star with a chance to enter the NFL. One key thing I do want to note here is that residential dean Kathleen McDermott, who died in 2011, allegedly accused the victim of misinterpreting the terrifying encounter because she was born in an African island county of Cabo Verde. According to the dean's opinion, the defendant had not actually rapped the plaintiff because plaintiff was not from America and had therefore misinterpreted the defendant's conduct because people from different cultures interpret things differently. In the end, Marcellus Wiley was not expelled, but rather placed on academic probation and ordered to complete the spring 1995 semester from his home in Los Angeles. In the following spring, the plaintiff attempted suicide and was admitted to a locked hospital ward for 2 weeks. And when Marcellus Wiley eventually returned to the Manhattan campus, he was actually in multiple classes with the plaintiff because they both studied sociology. Finally, the alleged victim would become an active member of an organization called Take Back the Night, which aims to end essays and domestic violence. There she met other victims who also shared stories of rap at Wiley's hands both before and after her own incident. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. Now I want you to hear Marcellus's account of what happened that day, so here's his response.
So, there was a girl on campus that liked me. Freshman, okay. And I thought she was cute. But that was it for me, because I knew she had a boyfriend. And at this time, y'all got to remember, this is before social media. This is before cell phones. If you saw somebody and you liked them, you better be talking to them in a moment. You better be talking to them right up. Other than that, you got to wait till they home and then call them and hope for that. I was not about that. I was a student. I was a football player, and I already had enough girls liking me. So I wasn't really the one to do the chasing. But I would see her here and there, thought she was cute. That was it. She had a boyfriend. That was it. Then one night, because I knew she liked me, and liked is a loose term for me, but I was interested if she was available. I was interested if she wanted to holler at me, basically. But she called me one night, and she called me to pick her up from the train station, which was right down the street. Now, pick her up meant basically walk her from the train station to her dorm. It's not like that deep. I was like, all right. And I remember doing that, and it was raining or it started to rain. That was the only thing I remember about it. Brief walk. That was it. I was all right, I'm going out. That was the last time I saw her into the night in question. Okay, let's talk about the night in question. The night in question was me picking up some food and me going over to her dorm. Now, invited, of course. And for those who have any doubts, any skepticism, I will walk you through every step. So at Columbia, I think all the dorms are co-ed, at least most of them. At least my dorms were. Her dorm was. So with a co-ed dorm, I think some of the security measures that they had was you got to check in with your ID. So she lived in one of the dorms, you had to check in with your ID. I remember going and get some food and coming over, I think it was Ollie's right there on the corner. People remember that, it's gone now. And I left my ID at the front desk. She had to come down to sign me in. That was the rule. Your guest comes, you go downstairs and sign them in and check them out. That's the rule. So I leave my ID, my Columbia ID, she brings me upstairs. Not to get into those details, because frankly, there are really not that many details in that respect, but I will cover this. We did not engage in intercourse. At the time, I knew she had a boyfriend, and at the time there, she told me she was a virgin. My mind immediately goes to this place. If you're a virgin, I am not going to be your first, because I am not looking at it with the same respect, esteem, honor that you should. So nope, not going to mess around. We did mess around though, but no vaginal intercourse. I'm going to go through all those reports and the details that I read in the next block, but this one is kind of like a little more general, a little more high view. So after that, messing around, eating, that's it, listen to some music, I go to sleep because I got practice the next day. And so when I go to sleep, a few hours, maybe 3-4 hours, y'all know me, I don't need much sleep. I wake up. Now, typically, if you're in a normal situation, you just wake up and leave and go home. But this is one where you need to sign somebody out and all that kind of stuff, right? Remember, sign in, sign out. So she has to go downstairs with me, and she does. Goes downstairs, signs me out, all on camera. I don't know where the footage is 30 years later, but all on camera, and gives me a kiss and told me to call her. Now remember, this is a different type of calling then. This is like, all right, call me and make sure we talk on the phone. And it's a lot of like, you ain't in the room or you at practice and that and that. For like two weeks it went on. I remember she gave me a hug, a kiss, and she said, give her a call. About 2 weeks goes by and no calls. Like, we didn't connect, basically. I may have called her, I'm not sure, can't lie to you. But I certainly didn't reach her. Then I get her, my boy stops me, gives me a heads up. Hey man, girl around here talking trash about you. What'd she say? I was like, what? I was like, oh my God. Now, immediately I start to think, why? Because I haven't called her or talked to her in the last 2 weeks. No, that can't be it. Oh, she had a boyfriend who ended up finding out that I had spent the night, went over there. And in shame and in cover, this is my theory, she had to come up with a story. Now, that theory was supported by many others, but it's still a theory, right? This is not a legal situation. She didn't call campus police. She didn't call the real police. To my knowledge, she didn't even talk to the deans. Nothing. I was just like, what? Why is she saying this? Now, here we go. I want you guys to understand something. That coincidence is not a crime. There's a parallel path going on that she has no idea about. And I'm going to tell y'all about that right now. So that parallel path is me still aspiring to go to the NFL, but realizing on the daily that that dream is getting farther and farther away, right? I just don't look the part. I'm not playing the part. I'm a sophomore running back who had 800 yards rushing in the Ivy League. Let's just say that's not getting the NFL's attention, right? I'm caught between positions in terms of my size. I end up being a defensive end, but at that size, I'm just an oversized running back. I'm like Brandon Jacobs, but much slower, it felt like, right? So it was like, dog, stop talking about the NFL and stop thinking about it. And I think that was the most damaging part. Now, on campus, I'm starting to hear these reports that, oh, Marcellus, you messed around with this girl and she didn't like it. I'm like, what? I know her boyfriend. He didn't like me. But it was more of that, like he was a normal student, quote unquote, an academic. And here I am, this athlete up there getting all this attention, his girl's attention. It was that dynamic, right? And here goes the guy from Compton, big old black football player, messed with my girl. He went up there. Instead of asking himself, how did he get my girl's dorm? Why did he spend the night? Why didn't anybody complain in the dorm? Them paper thin walls up there. Where's campus police? Where the real police? Where's the dean for him, etc.? Like getting him out of school. None of those kind of conversations. It's just, oh my God, slander his name and he fits the stereotype. Y'all know me. I only count those with me, not against me. So everybody who believed that or who more like perpetrated that or like they believed her or really like just kept it out there in conversation, I looked at them literally like, oh, they're on the other side of the fence. That's cool. That's your choice. You don't believe me. You don't believe in me. I don't even have to address this. That's how I left it. I looked at this report and I said, what? 30 years later? Does this happen to people? Does this happen to me if I'm back where I grew up, back on welfare 30 years later? Am I even being brought up on these charges? Or excuse me, not even charges, allegations. You know that answer, hell no.
Okay, so many of you may be asking, why now? Why after 29 years is this woman who just so happens to be working at Columbia coming out with this alleged crime after so much time has passed? First off, New York just passed a law that opens the statute of limitations on rap to no limit. Thing is, you only have this year to file any claims, and that's what ends in a couple of days. Otherwise, the time frame falls outside the statute of limitations. So with that, aside from Marcellus Wiley, there have been countless other SA lawsuits in New York involving Jimmy Iovine, Axl Rose, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Jamie Foxx. In regards to the plaintiff, there could be a number of reasons why she didn't further pursue this matter. Just because she came out 29 years later doesn't mean anything. Anyways, Marcellus brought up something interesting. I didn't add this in my part of the video, but he did address that in 1994, he was a running back and a kick returner. Then a couple years later, he transitioned to defensive end, where that would be the position he would go on to play in his 10-year NFL career. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that he was no star running back or anything. What I'm trying to get at is that there is probably less of a chance the school will try to bury this incident and protect their star football player. I'm not completely ruling that out, but it just seems less likely. On top of that, if there was anything, the surveillance cameras at the dorm sign-in desk should have caught something. This would have been all investigated by the school. Marcellus said that she had to physically check him in and check him out when he left, meaning someone is there working the desk. She alleges that it got physical, so I can't imagine someone not being able to notice a girl who looks traumatized or even physically assaulted. At the same time, the one thing that caught my attention about the article was that it said that there were multiple women who claimed that Marcellus had rapped them, so this might actually kick in full gear in the coming weeks if more potential victims come out and speak. That said, I don't really want to speculate too much because this is just all he said, she said. There's no evidence of anything, and to be quite honest, considering it's been almost 30 years, it's going to be very hard to prove anything. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this issue? Let me know in the comment section below.